Oh, forgot to remove the black screen. Oh my gosh. Welcome to Pickaxe and Roll, brought to you by our good friends here at Mile High Sports and FanDuel. I'm your host, Ryan Blackburn at NBA Blackburn on Twitter, part of the Mile High Sports Podcast Network. I'm here. I am ready to discuss the Denver Nuggets as they have a really nice win against the Memphis Grizzlies last night. Final score 125-115. The reason, if you're watching the video, why you saw a black screen up there, every time I try to set up the intro video to automatically go, it sometimes has one little quick frame where it has me up there and I'm just like staring at the screen and then it goes to the intro video. That's obviously not what we're trying to do. I'm trying to do things professionally and failing. So as always, appreciate everybody for stopping in and all the love and support on the show as always. As I mentioned, on today's episode, we're going to talk about the Nuggets win last night in Memphis. They've got 3 days off now, heading into Thanksgiving break. Really good timing for Denver as they've had a couple of injuries, and now they can go into it with a win before they'll have a back-to-back on the other side of that on Friday and Saturday that we will talk about in just a second. But first, there's a few things that we get to talk about from this win against Memphis that I thought were very interesting. Most importantly, Jokic and Murray are dominant in the games right now, and just the way that the Nuggets are playing right now, it has been a lot of fun to track what they have been able to accomplish. Obviously, it's always fun to track what Nikola Jokic does. But now Jamal Murray is making it fun to track what he's doing at the beginning of the season, which is really cool to see. And I think a really important thing for the Nuggets, especially without Aaron Gordon and Christian Braun at this stage of the season. We'll get into that in just a bit, but first talk about the game. Denver didn't start off the game from the best way offensively. They were very slow. Memphis was also very slow. Memphis struggled even more shooting than Denver did somehow. And then the Nuggets, of course, recovered. They ultimately shot on the game 22 of 43 from three-point range, headlined by sharpshooter Peyton Watson going 5 of 12 from distance. Was a really impressive performance from him that we'll talk about as well. But Denver goes for 27 points in the first quarter and then bounces back with 35 in the second, 31 in the third, and 32 in the fourth. Their offense really started to click. Part of that, I would guess, is the fact that Zach Edey only played the first 6 minutes of the game. We're still not even really sure what happened to Zach Edey. Just a weird thing that happened with him where he goes out with a head injury. Not sure when it happened. I would assume it was on just getting into contact with Jokic in some way, but there's no guarantee that that's actually what was happening. But Denver took advantage. Memphis, their defense was horrible throughout the game, and the Nuggets were absolutely cooking. Jokic was at the center of that. Murray was at the center of that. The driving offense on a consistent basis, and really showed that if you don't have a great matchup against Murray and against Jokic, then the Nuggets are going to consistently pick you apart. There were a couple of ways that Memphis decided to guard the Nuggets. Jaren Jackson Jr. spent a lot of time against Jokic, and as a result, and when it was him, it was pretty clear that Jokic can get to wherever he wants to go, but more importantly, the help side defense is not going to be as helpful because Jaren Jackson Jr. is at his best when he is in help position, when he's not guarding on the ball, things like that. And so the Nuggets were able to take advantage of that on a consistent basis. But without Zach Edey in the middle of the floor, with Memphis feeling like they're being forced to help on a consistent way, everybody else got going. The three-pointer was just sprayed all around the floor. The Nuggets had a whole bunch of guys that were getting good shots. And the Nuggets just had a really good pace about this game. They had a really good way. They closed with the group that I talked about yesterday. It was basically the starters with Tim Hardaway Jr. in place of Spencer Jones. Spencer Jones started yesterday. I don't think he was subpar. It wasn't like his best outing or anything. He did have some really nice hustle plays, and he also did have a three that rattled out. So want to give him like credit where credit is due. It wasn't like he was just completely hapless out there. But everybody's going to look at the box score and they're going to look at 0 points in 15 minutes and be like, oh my gosh, Ryan, you should talk about that. It's not the most important thing. What was important was that the Nuggets, when the lineup that they played, each of the other starters played in between about 33 to 37 minutes. And then off the bench, Tim Hardaway Jr. and Bruce Brown were the main minutes guys as well. Tim Hardaway actually closed, but he and Bruce Brown basically mirrored each other's minutes for the first 3 quarters of the game. And that was the right call, I think, because you just get a little bit more speed, a little bit more veteran savvy, and you get defense with Bruce, you get offense with Tim, and they just continue to find ways to be successful that way. But it felt like Denver always had a nice rhythm about them. They were always in control. It never felt like they were really going to give it up. There were a couple times late where, okay, it gets down to like a 5-point game or a 6-point game, but every time Jokic responded with a play, Murray responded with a play, or they set the table for Peyton Watson, who had 27 points of his own. But let's focus in on the duo to start. Jamal Murray, 29 points, 8 assists, 11 of 21 from the field, 6 of 9 from 3, only 1 of 2 from the line. He's not getting to the free throw line a ton in these games. And so what that means to me is that the number of shooting possessions is accurately reflected in the number of field goals. So the efficiency that he's playing with is pretty good. 29 points on 21 shots is pretty reasonable when you're only taking 2 free throws. And on top of it, 8 assists compared to 1 turnover is a great ratio, not just a good ratio, a great ratio. His control of the game stands out so starkly in comparison to other times where he has started the season and not necessarily put out the best performances initially. A lot of people look at the shooting and the scoring from that regard. I just look at the control and the pace and just the decision-making that he's making. And I consistently think that the shots that he's getting to, the plays that he's making for other people, he's seeing the floor better than he ever really has. Before, like, this isn't the best he's ever played, and I want to make that distinction. The best he's ever played was in the 2023 playoffs, and like especially in those latter 2 rounds against the Lakers and against the Miami Heat. I think like his basketball IQ in those was also very high. But right now, what I see from him is somebody who understands what the Nuggets need, understands how he can not only assist other people, especially Jokic, but also get to the place where he's being aggressive and properly aggressive at the beginning of this season and taking pressure off of other people as a result. And like he's had better times where he's shot. The bubble, of course, stands out, but he's had other moments where he can really go off from a scoring perspective. But this is, to me, the best combination of like who he has been as a player. And it couldn't have come at a better time because the Nuggets needed him to get off to the best start that they've had in their franchise history or pretty close to it. I think they tied their start for franchise at 13-4 to start this year. So it's really good. It's a really impressive way that they have about them right now. And they continue to show, along with Murray and with Jokic specifically, that like, no matter what the circumstances, they're going to have a chance at the end of it because of how high level they are playing. And Murray is, of course, a massive part of that. Jokic is a huge part of that as well. Like with Murray, it's there were some step back threes that he had late in the shot clock. There was some drives, some really flashy drives that he had going to the rim. He wasn't as good in the first quarter as he was in the fourth quarter, but that's like you save it for the fourth, of course. With Jokic, he was like, I would say, pretty passive throughout this entire game. There were a couple of times where Chris Marlin, Scott Hastings were commenting on the number of shots that he took. He took 9 in the game, 4 of 5 from the free throw line, 9 shots, 5 of 9 from the field. Did have 17 points, so his efficiency was really good. But it wasn't until he hit the third quarter 3, the buzzer beater inside, just one step inside the arc, or not inside the arc, the mid-court line, where it's like, this is a heave. And he takes it like a normal jump shot, and it swishes nothing but net from about, 44 feet away, 43 feet away from the basket. It was absolutely ridiculous. And him being able to take that shot as a normal jumper is insane. But credit to him, credit to being able to make that. It flipped the momentum. Like Denver was losing that quarter up until that point, and then he hits that right at the end. It just cuts the momentum for Memphis completely, and they had nothing at that point. They fought. They continuously fought and then tried to push it back. And I thought that Jokic at times was, especially when he came back in the fourth quarter, was not being super patient. He made a couple of turnovers that were at a bad place. But, I mean, overall, hard to argue with 16 assists compared to 3 turnovers. That's a pretty good ratio itself. Like, pretty good. And the piece de resistance of Jokic's assisting last night was when he had the ball on the right wing, drove it to the middle of the floor, and saw the double team coming, spins back around, holds the ball in his left hand the entire time, and just throws a behind the back left-handed pass on the spin to a cutting Peyton Watson for a wide open layup. And the entire building was oohing and awing. The Grizzlies bench was going back in their seat like, how do you even do that? Like, that was insane. The broadcasts for both teams were going nuts. The Memphis Grizzlies broadcast, by the way, they gave a ton of credit to that pass for Jokic and said it was one of the best, that, like, the color commentator said it was one of the best that he'd ever seen, like, as a pass. And to me, that's like the highest possible praise that you can give for a situation like that, where obviously Memphis is trying to come back, but Jokic doing Jokic things, and they made the right plays. And it just felt like they had the exact formula right at the end where they needed it to be. I do think that the lineup played a big part of that, where Peyton Watson, though he had been shooting up a storm, he moves into the dunker spot area. Cam Johnson's on the perimeter. Tim Hardaway's on the perimeter. Jamal Murray has created the switch with Jaren Jackson Jr. off of Jokic. And so Jackson is guarding Murray in the strong side corner, so he can't help. And then you've got Santi Aldama, and I think it was Santi. And you've got some smaller guys having to defend Jokic. And so, unsurprisingly, they doubled. And it created so much room for Jokic to throw that pass underneath, and that was basically the game. So credit to Denver, credit to the design of the play, and credit to the way that Jokic and Murray continue to handle themselves, man. This has been a really great start to the season. On the year, just so we're clear, on the year, Jamal Murray is up to 23.2 points per game, 6.8 assists per game, shooting efficiently from the field, up to 38.6% from 3, 89% from the line. The free throw shooting's actually come down a little bit. That's one point of contention that you could possibly have. But, I mean, 89% is still a crazy number. But this is a lot of career highs. A lot of career highs for Jamal Murray, a career high in shot attempts as well, a career high in three-point attempts. He's up to 7.1 three-point attempts per game. Thank God. Like, I mean, it's the easiest possible thing that you could say. The easiest thing. So I do think that those things are correlated. I do think that those are connected, where Murray understands that he has to be the best he can from three, and he's hunting those shots, and going 6 of 9 from three is definitely going to help the percentages. If you do that a couple times, you can get up over 40. I think that he's one of the most talented three-point shooters in the NBA and has been for a long time. So as long as he's got the legs under him, there's no reason why he can't keep hitting those shots, and no reason why he can't like really make a run for an All-Star game, man. It would be really cool. There are a couple of format changes that may or may not help him. Like there's a lot of other international players that are exceptional and will potentially give him a run for his money. But if Denver's tied or like not leading the West, they're not going to lead the West. But if they have a crazy record when All-Star voting is coming up, you can credit Jokic, of course, and they will. But you also might need to credit Murray for what he's doing. And like it has been a really, really impressive start to the year for a guy who is a notoriously slow starter. So give him credit where credit is due. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Peyton Watson, and I'm going to compare some numbers between him and Christian Braun. We're going to talk about Cam Johnson, and we're going to talk about what is next for the Denver Nuggets as they head into a 3-day break. We'll talk about it next year on Pickaxe and Roll. This podcast is brought to you by Delete Me. Delete Me makes it easy, quick, and safe to remove your personal data online at a time when surveillance and data breaches are common enough to make everyone feel vulnerable. Data brokers, they profit off of your data. It's a commodity. Anyone on the web can buy your private details. This can lead to identity theft, phishing attempts, and harassment. Have you ever been the victim of identity theft, harassment, doxing? If you haven't, you probably know someone who has. Delete Me can help. Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me. Now at a special discount for our listeners. Get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to deleteme.com/hit and use promo code HIT at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/HIT and enter code HIT at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/HIT, code HIT. All right, we are back. Pickaxe and Roll, Ryan Blackburn here. Thank you so much for tuning into the show, folks. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Would really, really appreciate it. Let's talk about another guy who stood out in a big way against Memphis. He didn't have a guy that he was really guarding the entire time, but Jaren Jackson Jr. ended up being that guy at various points, and he sent his shot back emphatically in the third quarter. It was very impressive. Peyton Watson on both ends of the floor. I will say defensively, he's taken a little bit of a step back as the starting role has increased. There's a couple of things that he's done well, like he did a great against Houston, but against Sacramento, against Memphis, hasn't been as good. And that's okay. Like you would expect that to happen as the role increases as a starter and your offensive role increases. And so he's had to contend with that. And now, like, he's becoming a high volume scorer. It's actually been pretty crazy. 27 points for Peyton Watson in 33 minutes, 11 of 22 from the field, 5 of 12 from three, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal and a block. He was extremely useful and one of the guys that was completely unafraid to shoot for Denver. And to me, that is a really important sign for when Denver's missing a couple of starters. You know that you've got to play with confidence. You know that you have to play like the opposing team. If you're going through the scouting process, if you're going through like, okay, what do you want to allow? What do you want to give up? Is there a good thing? They're a good thing to give up. Memphis, I think, did exactly what they should have done at the beginning of this last game. And they funneled the ball to Peyton Watson and Spencer Jones. They did not give Jokic open shot attempts. They did not give Murray open shot attempts. Cam Johnson had it difficult. He was on the perimeter, and they were guarding him closely. And oftentimes, the Grizzlies would leave the ball open for Peyton Watson to shoot and then try to contest a shot late, or Spencer Jones. And it's just the right thing to do in this particular case if you're the opposing team. So they were able to do that, and Watson started the game slow. I think he was 0 of 3 from 3, which means that for the rest of the game, he was 5 of 9 and did some really great stuff as a floor spacer, he continues to find open threes on a consistent basis and continues to be very willing to take them. And there's a threshold that you probably should dial it back just a touch. However, I am always going to default to, especially in this situation where you're down a couple of guys, you're on the road, just take the open shot when it comes. It's harder, it's easier said than done. It is way harder than it sounds. Take the open shot when it comes and generate as many good looks without trying to find the great look as possible. Because, like, how many great looks did Nikola Jokic have in this game? It was probably like 2. Like, it wasn't a lot. And that's the thing where you're down a couple of guys, is that you can't pick and choose. You can't, like, fight through it. And it's one of the things where, okay, you get a little, like, Jokic, I think, probably got a little bit tired of having to fight through and score 44 points against the Kings the other night. Like, having to score as much as he's had over the course of the past few weeks of the season, it's not good. Like, you would rather the offense be a little bit more balanced because other guys are creating and making as many shots as they need to. So Peyton Watson taking some of that pressure off of everybody. Why do you think Jokic is continuing to throw that pass? Why do you think Murray is continuing to throw that pass? They have a choice. Like, they don't necessarily have to throw it, but they are. And they're trusting Peyton and they're giving him confidence. And, like, he's continuing to pay that off with some really impressive shooting. So 27 points is a big deal. He hit a couple of threes in front of the Memphis bench with Jamal Murray talking in his ear. That was pretty nice. And just very justifiable. And what Peyton is showing over the course of these past few games has been really impressive. I mean, let's go through. I'm looking at his splits now, but let's go through his game logs here real quick as a starter, and just go from a scoring perspective. He started one game against Indiana where Aaron Gordon rested and had 16 points and 7 rebounds. Shot decently efficiently, only 1 of 4 from 3. His next game in the starting group was against Minnesota without Cam Johnson and Christian Braun. 12 points. Didn't have as many shot attempts, but, like, perfectly reasonable. Then in the loss to Chicago, he only took 4 shots. And I remember talking to Matt about that and thinking, I don't know, man, like, he should probably be a little bit more involved. Should probably be somebody who, like, given the balance of Denver's offense, it almost feels like when he takes 4 shots, it feels like they are actively making him the 5th option. And the ball would probably naturally find him a lot more consistently in other moments. And it has. Against New Orleans, he obviously has his big breakout. 32 points, 12 rebounds, huge game. 13 of 19 from the field, 5 of 9 from 3, 8 of 10 from 2. Very impressive all the way around. Against Houston, only 9 points and 10 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, and a block, but and only 5 shot attempts. But that was a game where Jokic took on a lot of burden and responsibility. So did, like, Cam Johnson was okay. Actually, he wasn't great in that one. Jokic and Murray were really the ones. And then I think Tim Hardaway came off the bench and did some good things. But it was a more defensive game. Then against Sacramento, 15 points and 7 rebounds, 6 of 10 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3. That is a pretty standard good performance, I think. And that's the one that I think, if that's the baseline of what you're getting, you're feeling pretty good about that. Although they did lose, of course. And then against Memphis, as I mentioned, 27 points, 5 rebounds, 11 of 22. 22 shot attempts is probably a little too high. So is 19 for what it's worth. But against New Orleans, like, they were leaving him open. And against Memphis, they were leaving him open too. So you wanted to actively avoid open shot attempts. That to me would be dumb. So his splits so far as a starter only in, like, for the Nuggets. Actually, let's go as a reserve. As a reserve in 20 minutes per game, 5 points, 3.4 rebounds, 1.5 assists, 51.2% true shooting, shot 23% from 3. As a starter in 7 games, he's basically played more minutes now as a starter than he has as a reserve this season, despite the fact that it's only 7 games to 10. 33 minutes, 16.6 points per game, 6.7 rebounds, 1.7 assists, 65.6% true shooting, 46.9% from three. That's ridiculous. Those are great numbers. Are they likely to regress? Sure. Are you likely to drop below 40 as if you're Peyton Watson? Yeah, he's going through a really nice heater at this point, and I wouldn't expect 47% from three to continue. But that doesn't matter. Like it's the fact that it's not 23%, it's not 30%, it's not 35%, it's up to 47%. Like he's doing exactly what you would want him to do, and he's taking those shots with confidence. The usage rate is higher. It's actually significantly higher than it was as a reserve. Like you would expect the usage rates to be about the same because it's just a rate stat. It's not like it doesn't matter how many minutes you're playing. 18.8% usage rate as a starter, 12.3 usage rate as a bench player. They weren't getting him involved. Like with that group, with that mix specifically, you had Murray mostly staggering with the second unit. Obviously, he's going to take a lot of shots. Jonas Valanciunas taking a lot of shots with the second unit, using a lot of possessions. And then Tim Hardaway was the main kind of third option after that point. And even like Bruce Brown was getting more usage than Peyton Watson. It was Bruce Brown and Peyton Watson that were kind of tied for fourth in that usage category. So to me, this is notable. To me, this is a little bit of growth. It's a little bit of a breakout. Now, compare that to Christian Braun's numbers as a starter, and I think you get some interesting things. This is Christian Braun's career splits as a starter player. 33 minutes per game, 32.8, 14.6 points, 4.9 rebounds, 2.6 assists. He's averaging a little bit over a steal per game, just like Peyton. 44 blocks as a starter for Christian. It's about 0.4, 0.5 blocks per game, whereas Peyton's had 6 blocks in 7 games, so it's slightly higher. The production that you're getting from Peyton is higher. I will not sit here and say that it is better. I think that they are about equal in what they have provided, but the efficiencies are about the same. The production as a scorer and as a rebounder for Peyton has been slightly higher. And it's just like, rather than compare to Christian, like, and say, oh, okay, well, they're keeping Christian and they're not keeping Peyton. They can still keep Peyton. They can still keep both of them. I think that it's a logical fallacy. Like, I wanted them to sign Peyton to a contract because I thought he was worth it, and he's showing it now. But the good thing about him being a restricted free agent is that the Nuggets control his rights, and they still have all right to be able to get him back. It's just about the financial questions for it. It's just notable to me that Peyton is now stepping up in this role and doing very similar things, which shows you that he's a good player. And that just, like, sometimes if you're in a different position, if you're coming off of the bench versus playing with the starters, you get those consistent minutes with Jokic, you can take advantage of them. And he has fully taken advantage and shown that he is somebody that, like, does deserve to be thought of as a player that the Nuggets can keep long-term. Like, is he a member of the core? No, not yet. Not until he actually gets a contract. However, like, if the Nuggets lose Peyton Watson because they have Zeke Najee's contract on the books, for example, that's bad. That's bad. So got to figure out how to get out of that, I would say. Okay. Let's talk about Cam Johnson before we wrap up. Cam Johnson, really good stuff. Really good stuff from Cam in this last game. And just a lower usage game. Like, obviously, Peyton was higher usage than you would expect. He had 27 points on 22 shots. Not the best possible efficiency in the world, but still, like, pretty good. Cam Johnson, 18 points, 6 of 10 from the field, 3 of 4 from 3, 3 of 3 from the line, 6 rebounds, an assist, and a steal. Did have 3 turnovers. There were some bad turnovers in there, some miscues, especially late. And the finishing for Cam Johnson's a little bit surprisingly bad as well. So I do think that there's room for growth here. But, like, 3 of 4 from 3 is great. 3 of 3 from the line is great. It, like, when you have both of those numbers augmenting what you're doing, it makes it a little bit easier, like if some of the other detail stuff is off. And so 18 points for who was your fourth option last night. It's great. That's exactly what you're looking for. Like you want him to stay efficient, you want him to stay effective. He's one of the guys that's helping them defensively, just navigating some of this stuff, making it so that okay, he can guard on the perimeter. One of the guys that I had heard a lot about heading into this game was Cedric Coward, who had 27 minutes and had 5 points. Cedric Coward's a rookie for Memphis. Thought he was going to be really killing them. Thought Vince Williams was going to be really killing them. He was okay. 6 points on 2 of 8 from the field, 7 assists. The guy who really hurt Denver was Jalen Wells, who was really impressive as a scorer, and surprisingly so. I didn't expect him to be that good as a scorer. And Jock Landale obviously had 26 points on 18 shots. That dude was raining hellfire with that jumper for a while, and then it dried up. So, look, they did a lot of good things. Denver did on both ends of the floor. I think the Grizzlies got a little bit lucky at various points. Just in terms of some of the shots that they were generating, some of the fast break points that they got, some of the points off of turnovers that they got. But yeah, Denver, I think, is like Cam Johnson's settling in. This is just another good game. And like you just have to stay consistent with it. And as long you keep stringing together a whole bunch of good games over and over and over, and you're suddenly having a really good season. And so like the way that Cam Johnson started is not the way that Cam Johnson's going to end the year. We all kind of knew that. The question was, what kind of level could you reach? And if it's about 17, 18 points on 10 to 11 shots, sure. Sounds great. Okay. What is next for the Denver Nuggets? They are off now. They have 3 days off, and they do not play again until Friday against the San Antonio Spurs. And then again on Saturday in a road back-to-back against the Phoenix Suns. Both of those teams surprisingly good. Like Phoenix is surprisingly good. Their culture has completely turned around clearly, and they are in a different position, I would say, as a team. Just looking at some of the futures now for Denver. Shea is still at plus 135 according to FanDuel to win the regular season MVP. Nikola Jokic, though, has climbed all the way to plus 175. Odds haven't completely shifted. And honestly, I kind of get it. Like until OKC actually loses any game, then I kind of get it. They're 17-1, 16-1 right now. Like you credit the best player on a team like that, usually for an MVP. But like what Jokic is doing is so good, and she's actually making it even more difficult than it was last year because his numbers are like they're just straight up better than Shea's. Like they are. So now, to be fair, Shea hasn't had to play in a fourth quarter in a long time. So you give like both of those guys deserve ample amount of credit for that. By the way, NBA records. The Thunder are currently plus 1280, or no, they're plus 880 to set the NBA record for regular season wins at 74 or more, plus 880. That would be wild. That's a running tally that is now going on FanDuel. And for Denver, their regular season wins, I'm curious to see where that has adjusted, what their actual line is at this point. It's still at 56.5 for their line. So if you think that they are going to continue to overperform, like they're on pace for higher than 56.5. They're on pace for way more than that. 13 divided by 17 times 82. They're currently on a 62.7 win pace. 62.7. Like Denver's playing well. Like they're doing exactly what you need them to do. And just because they have, I think, a reminder game every few that they still have a ways to go. Like that was the Chicago game. That was the Sacramento game. Those are the games where you're like, the season is long and you can get got. But Denver's won 6 road games, in a row, and deserve a lot of credit for that. Deserve a lot of opportunity for that. And like they're going to be playing a lot of road games this year. So let's be real. It's not until March where the road games really start to tail off. So they're going to have a lot of opportunities on the road to really shine. And I am curious to see how they handle it going forward, what it's going to look like, and can they keep up this momentum? It's been great. I think that they will probably slow down at some point, and Vegas, I'm sure, agrees. But if you maintain a 62 win pace for the entire season, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. All right, everybody, that is going to do it for this episode of Pickaxe and Roll, brought to you by our good friends here at Mile High Sports and FanDuel. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Really appreciate the love and support on the show as always. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button on the way out if you can. I'm not sure when I'm going to be back. I haven't decided. There's a couple of things that we've got in the works over the course of this week that we'll see whether they can come to pass or not. I'm curious to see what ultimately happens with it, and we'll have some things that we can potentially share with you. Everybody have a great Thanksgiving break. If I don't speak to you between now and like Saturday, which I think is a possibility, then we'll talk about it at that point. But if I don't speak to you then, have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy time with family if you celebrate. If not, enjoy the time off. You deserve it. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning into the show. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button on the way out. I'll talk to you guys very soon.